Hi there, it's Kareem Habibi from Keepers Nursery. It is the 18th of August 2023. I'm just going to make a quick video about plums. We've had a really bad year of plums, unfortunately, in the nursery. We had a lot of rain in April when the plum blossom was out, and I'm assuming that was to blame because, other than that, it's been a very nice year. But the plum set was quite bad, and yeah, there's not a lot to show. I'll do a much better video next year, fingers crossed. We had a really bad year in 21, quite a good year in 22. 23 has been bad, but anyway, I'm going to show some of what is still available. So I'll start off with one of the best plums. So over here, it's the only one on the tree. There it is. So this is called Renclaude Doré. So Renclaude plums are these tiny little, some people would call them green gauges. They're actually very, very similar to a Cambridge gauge. So some Cambridge gauges are very round. They've got a very distinct looking stone. It's very thin and small. They are fantastically sweet. I should actually start with a less tasty plum and actually work my way down to the sweetest plums. But I haven't thought this video through, and I've already picked the only plum on the tree. But you know, it is a good one. That's why I was excited. I thought I should make the video. So it's almost ripe, but basically these plums have a slight bite to them. They've got slightly acidic skin. It's very soft, but it doesn't break quite as easily as if you imagine like a Victoria plum, which has got a very thin red skin to it. That would break quite easily. These are slightly bit harder. You can actually sometimes even buy them in the supermarkets. However, off the tree they are so nice, and you will be fighting against the bees and the wasps. You know, not just the wasps, the bees and the wasps, because they're so sweet that they will just stay here and eat these rather than go foraging for flowers and nectar. So there are various Renclaude varieties. There's a Bavet, there's Renclaude Vrai, Renclaude RHS. There's an early one called Précoce Lion. There's a late one called Tardif Chambourcy. Basically, they all look very similar. There's a Moissac as well. They're all very similar looking, very sweet, like small green gauges, like the Cambridge gauges. I wouldn't say that they're the best cropping plums out there, but for the sheer amazing flavour, they're worth growing. So, on to whatever else there is. This video might be long or it might be short. Let's see. There's a few things here. So this one is Wangenheim's Fruitswetch. Sorry, my I'm gonna assume it's like some European. Oh, where is it from? Yeah, it's German. Okay, good. I was gonna say it's German. Okay, yeah. So this is a nice. Well, it's usually used for cooking. So you've got that very. So the quetch type plums. So this isn't one that we usually produce much of, but the cooking type plums, they've got quite a dry flesh to them, so that when you do cook with them, let's say put it in a cake, it doesn't just turn to gloop. It doesn't just make the cake all soggy, because that would ruin your cake. Instead, you want a plum that's actually going to have nice acidic flavour to it, which it does. There's a lovely colour to it, and therefore you get all the flavour in your plum, in your cake, from the plum into your cake, but you don't get soggy cake, which is what you want. On to Monsieur Jaune. Oh, I'm glad one of these is here. So you see, that's wasp damage. Yeah, Monsieur Jaune's quite nice. So very nice plum. I'm probably going to eat them all because I love plums. Monsieur Jaune we don't produce many of. It's not that well known, but it is a fantastic plum. We'll move on I mean, the reason we don't produce a lot is probably because things like Cambridge Gauge are better. So this is what the plum cordons look like. This is the Renclaude Tardif Chambourcy. So I mentioned a late Renclaude. This is the late Renclaude, so it's not quite ready yet. I'll come back to it one day. Hopefully I'll remember. I'll walk a bit faster. Merryweather. So, Merryweather, which is a good damson. I'll eat it, but it's not going to be nice. So, it is actually quite nice. It's quite a large damson. Good for jamming and cooking with. Ooh. I have seen some things around, but it is a really pathetically bad year, sadly. Okay, there's a few things here. 7 Cross. I'm not a huge fan of these giant yellow plums. They don't really give a lot of flavour, but they are quite attractive. Things like Gordon Castle. This is the local gal, I don't know what you want to call it. This is Farley Damson. So yeah, that's really sharp. I preferred the Merryweather. This must be Autumn Compote. It's quite a nice looking plum. Yeah, it's sort of, again, it's not nearly as sweet as the Renclaude. Sorry if my camera works, so rubbish. Apologies. Yeah, it's not nearly as sweet, but it's a solid plum, Autumn Compote. I'd put it somewhere like a slightly drier Victoria, really, not quite as sweet, but it's got that fantastic sort of coral pink look to it. Merton Gem right now looks like that as well, which, you know, is such an attractive thing to have growing. Let's keep going. Ooh, this is a good one. Yep, Renclaude Violette. So, there aren't many Renclaudes. Sorry, I'll work out which hand I do this with. So this is actually like a purple Renclaude. So it's exactly the same shape, slightly larger than the Doré that I picked earlier. But it is Violette, it is purple, which, you know, is attractive. Some people prefer the purple looking plums to sort of yellow plums, sort of to the green gauges. More conspicuous at least, so you can pick them with better ease. If you are growing plums, growing them as cordons does reduce the amount of fruit you get. You know, if you can leave them unpruned, you do get slightly better fruit, whereas with apples and pears, if you're going to prune a lot, you do get spurs, therefore you get nice sort of fruiting wood. With the plums, you don't really gain that benefit, and cutting them back unfortunately does reduce the fruit. But the reason we haven't got fruit here this year is because of the April weather. But anyway, let's try this. I haven't had one. I don't think I had one last year actually. That was very, very sweet. That is very nice. So that's up there, Renclaude, with the other one, the Doré. This one here, yeah, Kentish Bush. This is a cooking plum. I'm not really going to bother eating it. It's going to be a bit sharp. But oh, that's a nice looking thing up there. Who is this? It's good to have labels. If you've got trees in your garden, put labels. So that's man's number 1. I mean, I can eat the other half of it, yeah. Man's number 1. Yeah, very good. It's a bit like a Victoria. Yeah, I rate that. That's very nice. That's like a perfectly ripe Victoria. Well, I assume some people in the world might watch this eventually. Victoria plum is very popular in England. It's basically the plum that everyone knows. It's you know, it's a gorgeous red one. The tree's just up here. I'm just seeing if there's anything else en route. These are Victoria plums right here. There we go. These bad boys, or girls. Again, it's got a wasp on it, but oh, these are quite nice. So Victoria, it fruits well. It grows very well. It's a very healthy tree. It's a very, very nice plum. So the skin, you get this lovely red color, which is just gorgeous. The fruit, the flesh is juicy, not too juicy. It's sweet, not too sweet. It's like right perfect in the middle of everything, and you know that's why it's quite well known. So the blush on it, I think, looks great. So if you buy them in the shops, which you can do for a very brief time or on the side of the road, they'll be shined up, and you'll lose this sort of whitish blush thing on the outside. I think they look so good with the blush. Once they get shined up, I'm showing this one up, you sort of just lose it. And then, you know, plums don't really store well. It's much nicer to actually grow your own if you can. They look better, they taste better. You just got to eat them off the tree. It's really the best fruit if you have children, because the children are here in the summer. They run around barefoot, they pick fruit. Fortunately, my children haven't had many plums this summer, but you know, they've had plenty of other things, believe me. This is the late green gauge here. Sorry again, camera works awful. So that's not right, but there is a late green gauge as opposed to the sort of, let's call it the standard green gauge, the old English green gauge, which we do. So it ripens a bit later. There are some really late varieties you can go for. This big one is what, giant prune? Yeah, giant prune. I don't know if you can see it. Giant prunes, I mean, it's not the nicest plum, but it is absolutely massive. There's one with a nice wasp in it. The wasp has left it alone. Thanks, mate. Okay, so giant prune, it's big, it's bad. Well, it's not bad, it's alright. Yeah, it's quite watery, it's got a thick skin. Not actually sure what you'd use that for that much, but it is what it is. It's big. I don't even think people use it for cooking. It's not even that acidic. Okay, so this one here, again, apologies, there is a bit of wasp damage on a lot of the fruit that I'm showing. Wasps have to survive too, you know. So this one is the actual green gauge, so that's what wasp damage looks like, but I just eat the other side. I'm pretty cool. I don't mind having gross looking fruit. That's really, really sweet. It is very green, so it's not yellow, it's green gauge. So green gauges are, in comparison to something like a Cambridge gauge or a Renclaude, they don't have any of the acidity. So green gauge is kind of, it's like there's like no one's checked the box for acidity, so you just get the sweetness, which, you know, some people would really, really like. I slightly prefer the other type, the Renclaude, but you know, old green gauge is very good. This one finally is one that I'm going to hold the camera like this. Warwickshire Drooper, it's not quite ready yet, but Warwickshire Drooper is a very large yellow plum. I think this is a great plum. It has a slightly droopy, the tree has a slight droopiness to it. That's why it's called drooper, I think, anyway. But yeah, that is quite nice. It's not quite ready yet, but it sweetens up. We've also got these are the sort of mature plums that is with the original mother collection. There's a few up there, but I'll just finish the video on one last one that I saw down here, which, here it is. Okay, so yeah, that's purple Pershore. So purple Pershore, I think, is one of the best plums to grow in the garden, because you can eat it, you can also cook with it quite well, and the stone comes out very easily. So hopefully this plum won't let me down and completely sort of ruin my arguments for it. It's got lovely texture. It's got a bit of bite to it. This one still is a bit acidic. It could be sweeter, but basically I can already feel that the stone will just pop out. So once the if you're cooking with plums, you want the stones to come out easily. You don't want to mess. So if you imagine like avocados, the stone can come out quite easily, but it is a bit of a faff. A mango, the stone is dreadful because the stone is basically covered in flesh. You have to somehow like get it off. You want something that will just pop out. So if you look at this, hopefully I'm doing this right, that just pops out. Hopefully that is on camera, but yeah, that just pops out. So if you're basically cooking, you got to like process a lot of plums. This thing is perfect. My late father used to make a lovely plum dessert where it was like plums and sugar and cinnamon, and it was the taste of summer. Unfortunately this summer we can't do that, but yeah, usually we did. Oh, we can go for one more actually. Wild de Villevorde is up here as well. Oh wow, this one's a good one. Okay, Wild de Villevorde. So this one's somewhere in between. I'll keep walking. I think there are other ones. Wild de Villevorde is somewhere in between a sort of sweet, transparent gauge type plum and a traditional looking purple plum. It has that slightly thicker, tougher skin that the Renclaudes have, which is slightly acidic, but it also has great sweetness underneath. Some of the plums that I really, really like, Late Muscatel has got such a nice flavour to it. I've already checked the tree, it doesn't have anything on it. Oh, this one here, Verity. So Verity has got a very distinct look to it. The way the leaves grow, the way the branches are all sort of angled, even the buds underneath have got points on. Verity is a late season plum. I'll pick it anyway for this little video, which is all out of focus. I apologise. Verity, it won't be right, but Verity is a lovely late season plum. If you're going late season, things like Anaspath, Verity, I think Marjorie Seedling's late as well. I might be wrong, but those are the three big hitters at the end. You can also have Quetches. The Tardive Chambossy is a bit earlier, but when I say late season, I mean sort of mid-September time. You can still pick plums, well, especially down here in Kent anyway, but it makes a big difference if you can have a late season plum in your collection, because then you can sort of extend the plum season. It's not quite done. Well, it's not done yet, but it is as good as a lot of the mid-season plums. Yeah, and on the other side, if you're going for an early plum, I would say Herman's the earliest plum, but then you've got things like Early Rivers, Prolific, nice early season plum to go with as well. Those will be around sort of late July. The best plum of the season comes in just after, which is called Opal, which was I do think I featured it on a different video. So Opal is sorry, I'm just checking the tree. Opal is a very, very nice, it's a solid one. So last summer when I went to do a sort of I don't know, I'd call it like the plum committee at the RHS, where we decide which plums get AGMs, and it's quite we basically go through every single plum. I think Opal, apart from Victoria, which basically would be blasphemy if we kicked that one out, but Opal was just straight through flying colours. No one even needs to bring the case for it. Opal is a very, very nice plum, which I'd recommend having in your garden, because if you can imagine the scene, it is late July, early August, and you're having a nice time in the garden. You're out in the garden every day having barbecues, the children are there. That's the time that you make the most out of your garden, and these plums are just the best thing to have to accompany that. Because if you have an apple tree, as much as apple trees are easier to grow and I love them, you don't have that connection with the apple tree, because the apple tree, you look at the apples, they're not ripe. As a child I used to pick all the apples in the summer holidays and they weren't ripe, but I'd still eat them. And then some of the early apples like Sunrise and things, Vista Bella, I'd love those, but I wouldn't know anything about the autumn apples, and my dad would sort of think, well, I was a bit weird, but why would I go out into the garden in the autumn when, you know, the summer is the time that I want to be out in there in the garden enjoying them. So, you know, bear that in mind if you're trying to, you know, plant trees for your family, because that's when it's going to be used. So I'll just go through one last plum, because I don't know how many more I can find. This is sort of like Easter egg hunts. So this is Count Alton's gauge, a bit like the Royal de Villevorde. This one is a fantastic sort of plum. Again, it's sort of halfway through a transparent gauge type plum, and, you know, what I'd call like a standard plum, but it doesn't have it's sweet again. It's not like, it's nowhere near a cooking plum. Oh, it's so sweet. It's basically, it's got very sort of, it's got juicy sweet flesh on it. The skin again is a tiny bit tougher, slight sort of bitterness and acidity to it, but that sort of firms it up, which is nice because that balances out the sweetness. Because if it was just purely sweet without the skin, you know, you don't get that balance. You want that balance. So this is one of my favourite plums as well. I do really like the transparent gauges. I don't know if there might be one actually. Yep, there's one transparent gauge. I'm actually going to finish this. So, last guy on the video, I promise. This is the late transparent gauge, and it's called, well, I assume it's called transparent gauge because it is slightly transparent looking. Okay, let me try again. Ooh, maybe it'll look better this way. Yeah, it is slightly transparent looking. It's sort of like ghostly white almost. So there's an early transparent gauge which I don't rate as highly, although it grows quite well. There's transparent gauge, which is amazing. There's a late transparent, and there's a golden transparent. Now those three are the sort of the best ones if you can get hold of them. We do produce some each year, but I don't produce that many of them. I apologise. Others, you can probably get them in Brogdale. Anyway, these are really good plums. You can see it's the same shape as the what was it, Count Alton's gauge that we looked at. You get a sort of apple shape to them. They're sort of round. Sorry, this camera is not good. It is a Pixel, I think, so it should be a good one. But anyway, this thing is very nice. And again, it's got the slightly sharper skin to it. It just has a really nice balanced sort of, I'd say almost melony flavour to it. A bit like when you get a really good, honeydew melons, and they're just perfect when they're like that. So anyway, I think that's about all we can do. Next year, hopefully I'll show you things like Lindsay gauge, all the other Renclaudes. Yeah, just there's a lot here. There's probably got about 150 different plums, and I spend a lot of time down here, but unfortunately this year's been a bit of a duff year. But anyway, hopefully everyone's had learnt a few things, and thanks for watching that long video with bad camera work. Bye bye.